Adachi and Shimamura 99.9 was amazing. It was a great conclusion from BD4, which everyone can agree was quite bittersweet for Shimamura. And it also offers closure for BD4 as well. The conclusion chapter from BD4 called "And" begins with Shimamura and Yashiro walking into someplace unknown. It is then that Yashiro states it is a promise, seemingly out of nowhere after receiving 2 donuts from Shimamura, to which Shimamura says she doesn't remember the promise. If you guys remember, this promise ties directly back to BD4. In BD4, Yashiro offers Shimamura space secrets in return for donuts. However, space secrets were not what Shimamura was interested in. She wanted to know if she would ever be able to see Adachi again, to which Yashiro said she would be able to. And this eventually leads into the promise of Yashiro reuniting every Adachi and Shimamura who didn't meet, which is what Yashiro is referring to in the text above. Right now, it makes no sense, but as the chapter progresses, we will see just exactly what she means. After this interaction, Yashiro then begins leading Shimamura to somewhere unknown, which she describes as someplace nice, and also says that it'll be fun. While Shimamura is following Yashiro, she notices some sort of petals falling from the sky. She remembers hearing the name of the petals before, however, she can no longer remember the name of them. It's also then that Shimamura wonders what she was even doing outside to begin with. Here we can see the obvious symptoms of Shimamura progressing in age. Her memories were becoming a haze of what they formerly were. At this point, it's probably safe to say that she was just letting the wind push her along, and wherever she ended up, that would just be that. With that said, it is quite sad. However, that was the reality for the Shimamura of this timeline. There was nothing else to really be done, except just exist. Yashiro and Shimamura continued walking, and walking, and walking. They passed a supermarket and a gasoline station. They were pretty far out at this point, and Shimamura felt that she had no choice but to follow Yashiro. And after all that walking, they eventually reached a flood bank with a clear view of the river. It's here that Shimamura realizes that she'd been here before, and she'd also been here with Yashiro before. It was at the festival she'd gone to with Tatami, Sho, and Yashiro. It's then that Yashiro stops her movements and asks if Shimamura is ready. Not sure as to what she should be ready for, Shimamura questions Yashiro, only for an image of herself from high school floating in space to be reflected from her eyes. Please walk straight from here, Yashiro instructs Shimamura while cycling behind her. The promise dictated that I bring you here. The promise dictates that you walk forward. It's here that Yashiro once again sounds like a completely different person, and I think that this is just her alien-like nature. Yashiro always acts so innocent, so childlike, that the time she does end up switching serious, it completely changes the atmosphere of the story, and that's really emphasized here. After Shimamura realizes that Yashiro would not be accompanying her, she believes that this may very well be the last time they meet, and so she parts from Yashiro, walking forward, feeling lonely as if saying goodbye to a good friend for the last and final time. As Shimamura continues walking forward, the bridge she was walking on disappears along with the river as well. The only thing that remained was a familiar looking staircase in front of her, which she climbs, only to find a door waiting for her afterwards. She opens the door, and through the darkness, she sees no one. However, shortly after, Shimamura realizes that just because she couldn't see anyone didn't mean that they weren't there. This is obviously a reference to the Adachi of her timeline that had passed. Even though she couldn't see Adachi, she knew that Adachi would still be there by her side, and she's applying that to her situation here as well. Just because she couldn't see anyone roaming around didn't mean that they weren't there. Shimamura also notices a spot near the wall, to which she makes out a brief figure sitting there, all alone. It's here that the story changes around a little bit. We never knew who arrived at the second floor of the gym first. Alright, pause, I have something I want to add here. After re-looking over this part, I thought to myself, is it true that we don't know who was on the second floor of the gym first? And after re-looking over the manga, light novel, and anime, we do know. In the anime, it shows that Shimamura was there first. However, in the light novel and manga adaptation, Adachi is the first one who's there. So there's really no answer. I don't know. I don't know if this means... Do as you will with that information. I just thought I would make it clear. Although Shimamura's memories were blurry and all over the place, she recalled meeting with someone here. Her skin remembered the warmth, the sweat that came with the summer. It was the second floor of the gym. Following Yashiro's instructions, she continues walking forward, walking towards the ping pong table, praying that something, anything would happen. And as she grew closer to the wall vanished, revealing a completely different scene from where she was previously at. She was now at her grandparents' house completely in the countryside. Mere moments later, the door to the house opens, revealing 2 figures, her grandmother and grandfather. After forcing their conversation to a halt, they smiled and welcomed her with open arms. However, this wasn't where she was supposed to be. This wasn't her final destination. She hears a voice calling her from somewhere unreachable. In that instant, she rejects her grandparents, saying, "No, sorry, I have somewhere else I need to go." Once again, the scenery was changed. This time, it was a place she had been at not so long ago. The apartment she had moved into with her. After exploring the house and saying goodbyes to some of her precious belongings, she made her way through the window, out the balcony, and into the sky. Was it the ground she was walking on, or the sky? Before she could even have a chance to answer that question, the scenery shifted once more. After preparing herself for what she'd see next, no longer was she in a state of deja vu. This place was entirely new to her. She was surrounded by a multitude of things, with flower petals raining all over her. This place was nowhere she had ever seen before. A park shaped like a half circle. In the corner of her eye, she could see playground equipment and the likes. There was a sign located near the entrance. The text was barely audible. However, it read out, "Mura." In the middle of that park stood a large tree, perhaps planted there to grant some shade. Next to it stood a figure, her hair and skirt fluttering in the wind. I was greeted by a sweet scent and a flood of memories. The tip of my tongue tingled, and a word formed on my lips. Now I remembered. The name of these flowers which had been falling this whole time. Such a long time. Slowly, silently, as if leaping up, her voice reached out to me. She was delighted, of course, but she'd also had to wait a long, long time. The girl, wearing the same school uniform as I was, had been waiting for me for so long. Her voice had the same color to it as the falling petals. It was so lovely, so peaceful, so kind, so full of hope. And it smelled good too. Her face twisted into an ever deeper smile. So did her voice, rendering her words unintelligible. In all possible ways, it felt like she'd become her old self. "Hooray, we're both young." She stared at me for a moment and then responded, sounding almost a little panicked. "Hooray." The way she did that, awkwardly lifting both of her hands into the air. How I'd missed that. My heart was elevated to such heights, it made me feel like I was soaring through the sky. So, we were able to see each other again. Which one of us said that? It was neither clear, nor did it matter, for we both felt the exact same way. A promise. Her voice, her words, everything she gave me tickled me so. There'd never been any guarantee that I'd see her again, yet I was glad I hadn't stopped on my way here. Perhaps I'd given up on my memories, but that mattered not, for we could still make plenty more. Adachi and Shimamura. Alright, so that's the video. The goal was to kind of keep it shortish so I could go over my own personal thoughts and opinions on it towards the end. So yes, Adachi and Shimamura 99.9 is amazing, and it's probably going to be very emotional for most people reading it. If you couldn't tell by my explaining, which you probably couldn't because a lot of things are being left out just for the sake of this video not taking all year. We follow Shimamura as she progresses through death. We see her go through her memories, see if she wants to abandon her memories in order to meet Adachi again, or if she wants to maintain her memories in order to never see Adachi again. We basically see her pick Adachi over everything, which eventually leads to her and Adachi meeting again in the afterlife. So once again, it's still pretty bittersweet, but I think this is the best outcome the Shimamura of this timeline can have. If it wasn't this option, it would just be Shimamura living her life completely alone, which is what we saw in BD4. And also, Yashiro was a very interesting character during this chapter as well. Previously, back in BD4, Yashiro apparently cannot see when exactly humans are going to die, but it seems like she has some gist of just when humans are going to die. That's what I think the whole point of her leading Shimamura far away to this bridge was. She kind of knew Shimamura was going to die to some extent. We kind of also see some foreshadowing for Shimamura dying in BD4 as well from Yashiro. And I think that's all I really want to say. I think that's all that there really is to be said. The ending was very sad, but you know, it's bittersweet, right? They still meet, but anyways, that's all I have to say. Thank you very much for everyone who's stuck by this whole entire video. This was one of the more fun videos to make for me. And see you guys in my next video.